This After Effects tutorial is sponsored by Skillshare. Hey everyone, in this After Effects tutorial, we will learn how to create a 3D photo gallery slideshow animation inside of After Effects without using any plugins. We will also learn how to create multiple different scenes to create a complete slideshow using the same technique. I am Nikhil from dopemotions.com, and without any further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, so here we are in After Effects. Let's start by creating a new composition just like we always do. I'm going to keep it 1920 by 1080. Let's make this 30 FPS and 10 seconds long. Let's call this main as our main composition. Hit OK. Let's create one more composition, which is going to be our media placeholder, where you can drag and drop in any footage or image, whatever that you want to use for this tutorial. So I'm going to call this media underscore 01, and let's call this point 1 because we will be duplicating this because we need 3 placeholders for one scene. So let's hit Ctrl D to duplicate it 2 times, and then I can select all 3 of them and just double click to open that up. There we go. And here I have few images that I want to use for this scene, and you can download these images from unsplash.com, which is an absolutely great website to download free stock images. So let's use this one as our main image. I'm going to just scale this down holding shift, and let's just properly frame this. Let's go into media 2. Let's add this one, scale this down. Let's reframe this, and the same for the third one. Oh, this is a third one. There we go. Let's go back into our main composition now. So the first thing that I'm going to do is select this 3 composition, drag them into our main comp, right click, create a new camera. Gonna leave it at 50 millimeters, hit OK. Let's create a cam control. So to do that, right click, new, and create a new null object. Call this cam for cam control. Make sure to make it 3D and then parent the camera to the null object so that we can control our camera using the null object. If you don't see this parent and link option, you can right click on this area, go into columns, and just turn this on. We can just close this for now. And now basically if I hit P, I can easily, oh, you cannot see anything. The reason is because we need to turn them 3D. So I can easily just, play around with my camera using the null object, which makes handling the camera very, very easy. Also, when you switch to 3D, make sure you're working in the classic 3D option. You can click on this, and if it's set to cinema 4D or ray traced 3D, make sure you switch to classic 3D. Hit OK, and now we can start building up our scene. Also, one thing I forgot to do is add a nice frame around my image. So to do that, I can just select the rectangular tool and double click. So it's going to create a shape layer. Let's set the stroke to around 35, and we don't need any fill. I'm going to click on this and let's set this to none. So we have a nice white frame, and I can just simply Control C to copy this up and Control V to paste that in. So we have a nice frame for our image, as you can see right over here. All right, let's select the first one, hit Control D, and I'm going to rename this to BG, as this is going to be our background image. We can close the first 3 images and let's focus on this. So what I'm going to do is going to Effects and Preset and add a tint on this. Double click to apply that up. I'm going to leave it for black and white as of now. And what we need to do is select these 3 images and reposition them. So I'm going to select the first one, hit P, and set the Z position to around, let's go with something like 400, and then I can select the second one, which is right over here, and the third one is right over here. Also, I'm going to select the background one, hit P, and push this back to 600, so it's back in the background. And let's hit S and scale this up just a bit like that. All right, then let's select the second and the third one, hit S to bring down the scale properties, and let's scale them down. So let's scale this one to around 35 and this one to around 25. Then I'm going to select the second and third, hit P, set the second one to minus 300 and the third one to minus 600, so it's a bit closer to the camera. Now I can just reposition them the way I want it. So I'm going to place this one right here, place this one just like so, and this one just like so. So now when I animate my camera, you can see we get a really subtle but a nice parallax between the images, and that is what I am going for. So I can hit Control Shift H, so it's going to hide the control layers and we can just focus on the scene. Maybe I'll select the first one and bring down the size of this a bit to around 25, so it goes properly with other images. As you can see, that is looking pretty nice. Before I proceed further with this tutorial, let's take a look at today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creatives where millions come together to take the next step in their creative journey. Skillshare offers thousands of inspiring classes for creatives and curious people on topics including illustration, design, photography, video, freelancing, and more. Skillshare offers class designed for real life, so you can move your creative journey forward without putting life on hold. You can check out this animation course for motion design on Skillshare to learn more about motion graphics and animation. Skillshare is also incredibly affordable, especially when compared to pricey in-person classes and workshops. The first 1,000 people to click the link in the description below will get access to 2 free months of premium membership to Skillshare. Now I'll go to around 2 seconds, select the cam control layer, let's hit Control A, hit U to close them up. Let's select the null object, hit P, create a keyframe on the position, go back and let's zoom in quite a lot. It's something like 2000. Yeah. And then we have this really nice reveal, as you can see. Looks pretty good. And then I'm going to select the second and third one, hit P to bring down the position. Create a keyframe, go back, and I can just zoom out. Control Shift H to bring back the control layers. And you can see we have the third one right here. I'm going to bring this down just a touch and bring this one up just a touch. So now when the image gets revealed, we have a subtle movement in those images. So now I can select all these keyframes, hit F9, go into the graph editor, right click and select edit speed graph. Select this point, hold shift and drag them to the left. So we have something like this. Looks pretty nice and elegant, as you can see. So that is looking pretty nice. But now after that, our comp or our project is completely stable. I want a continuous movement into the animation. So to do that, what I can do is go right over here, select the cam control layer, hit A to bring down the anchor point properties, create a keyframe on the anchor point, and I'm gonna go to around, let's go to 6 seconds, and let's add a little bit of zoom out animation just like so. Just a touch. Also, I'm going to select the background layer, maybe increase the size of this to around 140, and let's see what we have. So you can see we have a continuous movement going on, and that is looking pretty nice. Maybe I'll move the first one a bit up using the arrow keys. So you can see we have this really nice look. Pretty nice. Really happy with the complete look. Then let's go ahead and add some text to this. So let's create a new composition, call this title. and I'm gonna hit OK. Select the text tool, and for the font I'm gonna go with Objective. I'll mention the link to download this font in the description below. It's a free font that you can use. I'm gonna type in Slideshow. We don't want any spacing. Let's align it into the center. Maybe I'll increase the size a bit to around 150. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and add some nice simple animation to this. So let's go into the property of our text, go into animate, and first thing that I want to add is a scale. Then going to add property, add an opacity, and finally I'm going to add a blur. All right, so first thing, let's increase the scale to around 150. Let's bring down the opacity. Let's bring that down later on. I'll change the blur amount to around 5 or maybe 20. Yeah, and let's bring down the opacity. Then go into the range selector. I'll make some room right here. Let's set the shape to ramp down. I'm going to bring the end property to around 17 and set the offset to around 15. All right, let's change the units from percentage to index and turn on randomize on. And also I'm going to add ease low of 100%. Let's again switch this to 17 and this one to 15. So now we can, animate this just like so. Pretty nice. So let's create a keyframe on the offset, go around 2 seconds and set this to -17. So now when I preview this, we have this really nice text animation. Pretty nice. You can also play around with the random seed if you don't like the way it animates. So it's going to give it a different look. But I think 0 works fine for me. So there we have our text animation. I can place it into the main comp. Let's place it right over here, make it 3D, hit P, and let's bring this a bit closer to the camera. So I'll set it to -600 and let's hit scale and bring that down. And then basically we have this really nice text animation along with our images. Let's also add our tagline if you want to. So let's call this amazing slideshow, make it all caps, and I'm going to keep it medium, make this a bit smaller. Or instead of amazing, let's make it a bit more sensible. So I'll call this photography slideshow. Yeah, and I can align it into the center. Let's go to 2 seconds, select the text, hit P to create a keyframe on the position, hit T for opacity, create a keyframe on that as well, hit U so we can see all the keyframes. Go back to around 1 second 15 frames, bring that down and set this to 0. I can select the keyframes, hit F9, go into graph editor and bring the points to the left. So we have this really nice and simple animation, as you can see. Pretty nice. So that is looking really nice. Now finally I'm going to do some color correction on this. So let's select everything, hit Ctrl Shift C, and let's call this scene_01. Hit OK. Create a new adjustment layer, call this CC for color correction. Go into effects and preset and type in curves. And let's punch up the contrast a little bit. Also, I'm going to add some sharpen to this. So let's type in unsharp mask. And yep, the default settings are looking good. And finally, I can add a photo filter. And let's increase the density to 60. So it has a nice warm tone to this. As you can see, maybe 60 is a bit too much. Bring that down to 45. Yep. And I can switch to green channel and let's increase the greens a bit. Just for the look I am going for. Looks pretty nice. Gives a little bit of vintage feel to this, but I really enjoy the complete look. We have a nice parallax. And the last thing that I'm going to do is create a new adjustment layer. So let's go into the scene one actually. Create a new adjustment layer called this blur. And go into effects and preset, type in camera lens blur, double click to apply that up, and let's set this around 5. And let's go at the very start, create a keyframe, go to around 2 seconds and set this to 0. So we have a very subtle animation with the blur. Maybe I can select this, hit U, go into the graph editor by hitting F9, and let's tweak this a bit. So we have this nice reveal. Maybe I'll increase the blur amount a bit to around 8 or maybe 12. Yeah. So we have this very nice reveal, as you can see. And I can select the camera, hit U, and yeah, everything looks perfect. Now, using the same technique, you can create more and more slides and actually change the way it animates. So to pretty quickly show you guys how you can do that, I'm going to do this on the same scene. You can obviously duplicate everything by using true comp duplicate. Actually, let me just go ahead and show this to you. Maybe the tutorial will be a bit long, but I think it would be worth it. So let's go into the true comp duplicator, which is going to help us to duplicate all the composition without messing up. So what I'm going to do is create a new folder. Let's call this media, and drag and drop in all the media composition in that. Let's select the scene 1 that we have and duplicate this. So it's going to duplicate all the different compositions. Go into scene 2. So we have the same exact, but now if I replace it with different images, the first one is going to be stable. It's not going to get messed up with images. So a lot of people ask me this question, that whenever we change the composition images, like images in one comp, all the other comps get duplicated, or the image get replaced in all the other compositions. So to fix this, you need to duplicate composition in the project panel and not in the timeline. Or you can simply use the true comp duplicator script. It's an absolutely great investment, I think, if you're creating slideshows and templates and stuff like that. So we have the scene 2. Let's drag and drop in the scene 2, maybe around 5 seconds. Let's go to 5 seconds. So here we have the scene 2. Let's jump into the scene 2. And what I'm going to do is change the way it animates. So hit U. We can get rid of the position. So make sure you are right over here. And create a keyframe. Let's go back and let's move this in a different direction. So I can move this maybe something like this one. So let's say around 100. So we have this nice animation, and then we have the zoom out animation as well. And obviously you can go into the title, or you can select the title and change the way it looks and change the way the complete composition actually looks. I can place my image right over here, just like that. And let's select the title, place this one just like so. So we have another scene ready to roll. But now if I go back here, I have my first scene, and then the second scene starts pretty abrupt. So to fix this, what we can do, all right, so now we have our 2 scenes. Let's go ahead and animate them. So I'll go to around 4 seconds, select the scene 1, create a keyframe on the position, go to around 6 seconds, and let's move this out of the frame just like that. Let's select this, hit F9, go and move the time indicator to 5 seconds, jump into the graph editor, and I'm going to try to create kind of a peak into the center. Just like so. So we have a nice smooth animation, as you can see. The same thing I'm going to do with the scene 2. So let's go to 2 seconds, create a keyframe on the position, go back and move this out of the frame. Just like so. Let's select this, F9 to ease them. Go into the graph editor, place the time indicator at 1 second. That is the center of this. And let's actually zoom in a bit. And let's move this just like so. So now let's go back into our main com. Let's see what we have. Yep. As you can see, we have our second animation. Pretty nice. And I can also just move the title a bit forward in time so that we have the animation of the title as well. And using this technique, you can create a complete slideshow. You know, it's super simple, it's super easy, and it looks very, very nice. You can obviously change the images, use a different footage, but you get the idea, because a lot of people had this question of how we can actually duplicate one slide and create a complete slideshow. So I hope this helps you guys. If it did, make sure to subscribe, comment, like, and follow me on Instagram. That is a wrap, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you guys in the next video. Till then, take care and always stay raw, stay creative. Peace out.